A little over a week ago I kissed the top of our 5 weeks old baby's head. It was a single, light kiss and she had a thick head of hair with no obvious scratches or other skin imperfections. But I had cold sores on my lips at the time. We have been really careful to avoid giving our children cold sores or otherwise pass along the herpes virus, HSV-1. We have maintained a strict no kissing on the lips or face rule between everyone and our children, and I do not kiss my wife on the lips or other regions while I have cold sores. But just a few hours ago our 5 weeks old baby was diagnosed with HSV-1. She developed sores starting from where I kissed the top of her head within 24 to 48 hours of the kiss. We weren't sure what the sores were initially, so we brought her to a walk-in medical clinic for assessment. They took a swab sample for testing and provided a prescription for topical, skin-applied, antibiotics while suggesting the sores could be due to a bacterial infection. But after 48 hours the sores were continuing to grow and spread across the top of her head. So we phoned the clinic and our family doctor, but they still had no test results. They then provided a prescription for oral antibiotics. But after 24 hours the sores were continuing to grow and were now across her forehead. We still had no test results, so my wife took her to our family doctor. But our family doctor did not know the cause of the sores either and suggested we take her to the Children's Hospital Emergency. We took our baby to Children's Emergency that evening. They took a look at the sores and listened to our concerns. They also took swab, blood and urine samples to try to determine the cause of the sores, bacterial or viral, and to determine if it had spread to other organs or systems. They tried to take a sample near the spinal cord as well to check if it was in her central nervous system, but they were unable to collect what they needed due to her small size, 10 pounds, and movement during their attempts. While waiting for the results from the hospital, we were informed that the test results from the walk-in clinic showed only a culture of normal skin bacteria. But the hospital staff told this could be due to them collecting the sample from the surface and not opening up the sore to collect. She was admitted to hospital and started on 4 antiviral and antibiotic medication. After spending 48 hours in the hospital we were informed that she has contracted HSV-1 and that the sores may reoccur in the same region it started originally, top of head, or around the mouth. Different infectious disease doctors gave varying options on where the sores may appear in the future. They told us that she will need at least a week of 4 antiviral as she is too young to take oral antiviral. My mom was infected with HSV-1 when she was in grade 6, likely from her dad, and was hospitalized for a month. Apparently they thought at the time that she would die from it due to the severity of the response. And my older brother and I both were infected with HSV-1 around that same age or younger from our mom, but we have had only recurring cold sores with no other major symptoms. I seem to get cold sores almost exclusively when I have a lack of sleep and thus put stress on the body, leading to a compromised immune system. Now our little girl has them despite our best efforts, and it breaks my heart. We are concerned about it now being easier to spread to our other children, and the possibility of it spreading my wife's breasts, which would affect her ability to breastfeed. Especially concerning if we have more children in the future. And I have found cold sores to be a cause of physical, emotional and social discomfort in my own life, so I am very sorry to have passed it along to my daughter. I had no idea that HSV-1 could be spread through contact with skin. Growing up I only heard of it being through mucous membranes, lip-to-lip kissing, sharing cups and utensils, etc., and a few years ago I read that it could spread to breasts or genitals despite not being HSV-2, genital herpes. Looking it up online now, I am seeing that they suggest not kissing babies under 28 days to avoid causing neonatal herpes. But what I was reading did not make it clear that kissing any part of the baby could spread the virus. The doctor stated it is possible to spread through kissing the top of her head, but prior to diagnosis said he would be surprised if it was HSV-1 because she was not under 28 days, she was 5 weeks at time of kiss. She was full-term, healthy weight with no complications during pregnancy or postpartum. According to the info I found online, herpes on an infant or child can have life-changing consequences aside from the sores, such as blindness and brain damage, and can often be fatal. Apparently the majority of the general population likely has herpes, but a lot of people are asymptomatic, i.e., have never had any cold sores. And herpes can be spread within the body or to others whether or not there are sores present at the time, although it makes it more likely to spread to others if there are sores. My wife informed of a case. There is at least one article online from 2008 regarding it, where herpes had spread to an infant and they were hospitalized. But a week after the infant's sores were no longer present, the baby died due to the virus spreading within the body. So I am sitting here in the hospital full of regret over that single kiss, and hoping that she is able to make a full recovery. But I am glad that she did develop visible sores and that I suggested along the way that the sores could be due to herpes, because they were able to diagnose and treat the virus relatively early, which may have prevented it from spreading to other regions of the body. I am also glad that our baby was healthy on seemingly all account prior to this incident, because it would likely affect her worse had there been other compromising factors. And I am hopeful that effective and safe therapeutic and preventative vaccines for the virus will be developed in the near future. I do not want to cause unnecessary or excessive fear among others, but I want to share my experience and raise awareness of the risk. I wish I knew what I do now a couple of weeks ago. I would take back that kiss in a heartbeat. I would like to thank those who have shared their support, information and experiences. I appreciate your kind, constructive words and I hope you are doing well. Smile. I would like to point out the following regarding this post. 1. I am not a medical professional. My username was the first randomly offered username by Reddit and I didn't care to change it at that time. I did not mean to suggest that I am a paramedic. What I am and have been explaining is my current understanding based on my own research and experience and those of others who have shared. 2. Patches and medication may be available to you which can decrease the risk of spreading the virus or showing physical symptoms. It would probably be a good idea to talk to your doctor if having herpes causes you to have sores or seek therapy if it causes you depression. 3. If you are reading this at this point in time, chances are you carry the virus too according to some estimate/research. You often need to be tested specifically for HSV-1 to know whether or not you are a carrier due to the majority of people, babies and adults, being asymptomatic, never experiencing sores. 4. Having sores puts you at a greater risk of transmitting the virus to other people or having it spread to other locations on the body, but a lack of sores does not make those events impossible. And its spreading within the body is common for infants especially when left untreated and can often be fatal. One estimate shows a 25% death rate estimated for the United States currently. Even TH treatment, or cause disabilities if it spreads to other organs or the central nervous system. 5. Infants may experience symptoms such as lethargy, exceptionally sleepy or fatigued and sluggish, difficulty breathing, irritability, high or low body temperature, having a larger abdomen size than normal, or seizures when infected with the virus. If an infant experiences these symptoms or what appear to be herpes sores are present, you should contact your doctor or seek emergency services immediately. 6.
The virus can be spread through contact with skin on any part of the body, although infection is much more likely to infants, areas with damaged skin or open wounds, and mucous membrane areas, i.e., lips, mouths, breasts, genitals, eyes, noses and ears.
7. The virus can transfer to others without a person touching them directly. Sharing food, drinks, utensils, or otherwise contacting an infected area can transfer the virus. 8. Once infected, the HSV-1 virus remains within the body for life. This may or may not be true for all forms of herpes. 9. Stigma surrounding herpes and its transmission is preventing honest and open transfer of information on the topic. 10. Showing affection for those you love is natural and needed, but should be done in a manner that does not put yourself or them at an increased risk of negative consequences. 11. I kissed my daughter on the hair at the top of her head. She was born with a full head of hair which is still there and she did not have any obvious damage to the skin at that area. 12. I deeply regret kissing my daughter when, as a baby, and where, semi-exposed skin, I did, but I did not know that transmission through skin on any part of the body was possible. My understanding at the time was that active HSV-1 sores can transfer to others when the virus touches lips, breasts or genitals only. I do intend on discussing management of the virus with my doctor soon to see what methods may be available, safe, and effective for me and my efforts to reduce the risk of spreading the virus. My mom kissed us on the lips frequently growing up. We would kiss her lips and share drinks with her as long as she did not have an active sore. When I was 14 years old or so I told her I did not want to kiss her on the lips anymore. She expressed her sadness regarding these wishes and said that I must not love her anymore. I do not know exactly when or how I was infected. Cold sores were sort of accepted as being normal within my family, despite my mom's extreme reaction to the virus as an older child. And until recently we had other family members insist that kissing children and babies, including on the lips, is normal and needed and that it isn't a big deal to spread cold sores. When I say that the virus spread despite our best efforts, I do not mean to say that we did everything we could have and should have done. What I mean to say is that we were actively trying to stop the spread of the virus given what we had known at the time. Myself and my wife have done some of our own research regarding the virus at different points in our lives, yet we still did not know what we do now. If the results of my actions which I have shared here is expected to you given the circumstances, I am glad. Update 1. To summarize, I kissed the top of our 5-week-old baby on the top of her skull while I had a cold sore and it resulted in her being infected with herpes, HSV-1/the cold sore virus. I did not know that infection could occur through regular skin. Growing up I was only taught that it could spread through contact with the mouth or lips, and I only learned about infection being possible to genitals or breasts as an adult. Prior to the kiss, I think I may also have been unaware about the seriousness of infections to babies and was trying to prevent its spread to our children solely based on the discomfort and embarrassment I endured in my own life as a result of developing cold sores. Our daughter was provided with 4 antiviral treatment for 1 week in the hospital before we were discharged. We were given a prescription for 1 week's worth of oral antiviral medication to be taken from home, and had a follow-up appointment with the infectious disease doctor around a week after discharge. Although they were unable to take a sample of spinal fluid to check if HSV had spread to our daughter's central nervous system, they thought that the virus was likely only skin deep in her case. And we were told that we would need to come back to the children's hospital immediately if the sores presented themselves again, I assume at least until she is 1 or 2 years old. Our daughter has had 1 or 2 outbreaks of HSV-1 since we initially left the hospital. The first of those outbreaks was around 3 weeks after leaving the hospital and resulted in a hospital stay overnight, followed by about 2 months of oral antivirals to be provided from home. And the other time was around 1 month after using up the antivirals from the previous outbreak, but the sore went away on its own within 24 hours. We were going to pick up antivirals for the last time, but all pharmacies were closed, so we decided to wait until the morning, but the sore was almost fully gone by the morning. Both recurrences showed up at the same location as the initial sore and kiss, top of skull. My wife met with an infectious disease doctor in February to discuss our daughter's case, and the doctor said that our baby got really lucky. There are limited treatment options and our baby's case was very minor compared to most. She seems to be a very happy and healthy baby. In my opinion, since she was about midway through her stay in the hospital, she seemed to be in a happier place and is still there as long as she isn't wanting to be held or nursed by her mom. My wife and I both agree that she has been the happiest of our babies. And she is just about to celebrate her first birthday. I have posted this story to a number of different subreddits to try to raise awareness, especially for parents or soon-to-be parents. Many users have expressed gratitude for the posts because they were unaware regarding the dangers of HSV or how infectious it is. So I am glad to have possibly helped prevent some similar or worse cases from occurring. A user also commented fairly recently on an older post of mine suggesting that I share it over and over because they think the information is valuable. Now on to second story. Wife invalidated my trauma by accusing me of lying about being our pet, and now I'm contemplating divorce despite being in love. I 27 male and my wife 26 have been married for 2 years and have been together for 6. As context, I was repeatedly raped by my brother's babysitter when I was around 9. She would grope me, force me to remove my pants, and then either stick my dick in her mouth or try and give me a handjob whenever my 4-year-old brother slept. Most of the time I was paralyzed and couldn't do anything to stop it. She would always buy me sweets or video games for my DS as a reward. So in a weird way I started growing attached to her and would try and seek the abuse if it meant getting her rewards. I knew whatever she was doing was wrong, but she would always threaten to take my life if I ever told my parents, so I never did while the abuse was actively happening. Everything stopped as soon as she graduated college and moved states. I only realized how fucked up the things she did to me were when I was around 14-15 and understood the concept of consent. When I tried to open up to my parents, strict Catholics, it never ended well. First, they blamed it on porn and claimed it corrupted my mind into imagining these things happening to me. If I claimed I was telling the truth, my dad would beat the shit out of me and my mom would ground me. I tried opening up to my friends, but their reactions weren't any better. My male friends just called me lucky and asked if the BJ was good. My female friends claimed I was just lying to get attention and laughed in my face. I learned to just try and forget the past and vowed to myself that I would never mention this to anyone again. Now on to last week. Me and my wife had heard some good things about this show called Baby Reindeer on Netflix from our friends. Going into it, I knew it revolved around sexual abuse and stalking. In my mind I thought I was over the past and I could handle watching the show no problem. Big fucking mistake. At the end of episode 4 I was literally on the verge of tears and I felt all the supposedly forgotten memories come flooding back. At the end of the next episode I couldn't hold it in anymore. My wife paused the show and just stared at me. After a while I did finally manage to calm down a bit. She asked me why I was crying and I just let everything out. She said she was sorry, hugged me, and we went to bed soon after. I apologized to her the following morning for ruining our night. From the moment I let her know about the abuse I felt something change in our relationship. No more kisses when I came back from work and no more initiating anything intimate from her side. She wasn't mean or anything, but I felt like something was bothering her. I tried to apologize for maybe making her uncomfortable, but she would just claim there was nothing bothering her and I was just being paranoid. Yesterday me and my wife got into a pretty heated argument about her lying about taking out the trash, but during the argument she said something that floored me beyond belief. She literally said, "At least I'm not lying about being raped, you fucking narcissist." I literally couldn't process whatever just came out of her mouth. She tried apologizing right after saying that, but I just packed a few clothes and left to stay at my friend's house. She tried calling me several times since, but I haven't bothered picking up and have blocked her for time being. I know I might have trauma dumped on her and I know women aren't into that, but I just want some sort of acknowledgement/support. I don't have anyone left to turn to with this, and that's why I'm posting here. I've had 2 therapists to date and both didn't seem to help much. I'm gut is telling me to divorce her, but she's genuinely the love of my life. Throwing away 6 years because of this one moment doesn't sit right with me, but Wibta for divorcing her? Am I actually the asshole here? Update 1. Shortly after posting, I did decide to go back home. I had work the next day and didn't want to burden my friend with my marital issues any longer. Upon coming home I was met with her screaming at me for just leaving the apartment and ghosting her without having an adult conversation with her. I just let her know how hurt I was by the things she said to me and that I needed some time to myself to gather my thoughts. She tried arguing back with how there is nothing to think about and that I was being an immature crybaby. From that point onwards we have barely been on speaking terms. I know a lot of people are going to be mad hearing this, but the longer I thought about my marriage and my wife, the more I wanted to give her another chance. She wasn't perfect by any means, but neither was I.
A lot of my past relationships ended as a result of my past catching up with me, but I really want to change at this time.
She isn't the first partner/friend to have this type of reaction to what I went through. I know it's tough, but I feel like I just needed to bite the bullet if it meant keeping my sanity. I didn't want to start over again. After we somewhat started talking to each other again, I sat her down for a serious conversation and let her know again how hurt I was by everything she said. I let her know about all the ridicule I suffered as a result of me opening up and her having the same reaction, just reopened unhealed wounds. She just kept quiet until I mentioned couples therapy. She started crying, but not for the reason I thought. I tried holding her, but she just pushed me away and screamed that I seriously thought about ending our marriage over some silly argument we had and that I was just trying to make up some sob story after watching Baby Reindeer for attention and sympathy. According to her, all of this was just too convenient to be believable. If it was real, why didn't I mention any of this throughout the 6 years we have been together? At this point even I started tearing up. I apologized for keeping this from her for so long and then tried reassuring her that I in fact wasn't making this up, but she just slapped me and stormed off to bed. That was a week ago and I have been sleeping on the couch ever since. Whenever I try to speak to my wife, she just makes snarky comments towards me and just storms off. I just cry myself to sleep most nights and just wish I never fucking watched that show. None of this shit would have happened. I currently don't have the money for therapy and just feel lost. I don't want a divorce. I want to try and make this work, but this whole mess is just so draining. I'm not in contact with my family, so I don't have anyone I can turn to with this. How would you guys move forward in this situation? Update 2. I realized that I was definitely in an abusive relationship, and even though I wanted to make the marriage work, she has shown zero willingness to change her attitude towards what I went through. 2 days after posting my update, I contacted a lawyer and filed for divorce. I gave her plenty of chances and she has time and time shown me that she won't even acknowledge my trauma, let alone show me any form of support. I initially kept everything a secret and slowly started preparing my assets, savings, joint bank accounts, etc. I did finally tell her about me filing for divorce and she didn't take it well. She tried fighting it and claimed I will never find anyone else that's willing to put up with a giant pussy who can't even admit he wanted whatever happened to him. According to her, no woman is willing to put up with an attention-seeking crybaby like myself. I'm not going to lie. What she said got me, and for a brief moment I considered halting the divorce, but after she came home drunk one night and berated me for an hour straight, she snapped me back into reality. I don't know where the woman I fell in love with went, but that wasn't her. Looking back now, she'd given me plants of red flags, but I just ignored them for the sake of being loved for once in my life. For once I wasn't called gay for not being able to have sex when immediately getting into a relationship, wasn't laughed at for having random seizures, etc. I moved out of our apartment after her rant and have been staying at my friend's ever since. After she realized I wasn't coming back anytime soon, she DM'd all my friends claiming that I was an attention whore and was making up some sob story about being raped and that she was the one actually filing for divorce. Not only that, but she also told them that I was physically abusive and according to her they shouldn't hang around a guy that hits women. Most of my friends just immediately called me names, told I failed as a man and blocked me. The friend I'm currently staying with seems to be the only person on my side. I was doing an apprenticeship at a bank and she even started sending them evidence of me abusing her. I have no clue what she wrote to them. I had a meeting with HR on the 20th and they decided to fire me. I tried fighting it, but they just said that I wasn't worth the hassle. I'm now back doing construction, don't have a proper education and have lost almost all of the people I'm close with. I'm just beyond tired at this point. Not angry, not sad, just numb. I feel like whenever I try and take a step forward, I take 3 steps backwards. Maybe I am just this unlovable and pathetic. Maybe I deserve all that's coming to me. I just don't know anymore. As stated by the title, this will be my last post. Reddit has given me so much great advice and made me realize so many things, and I'm beyond grateful for every single one of you who helped me, but it's also destroyed my mental health. For every 50 positive and supportive comments and DMs I've received, I've had one person say the same things I've heard all my life, and I've let those people get to me. A lot of people ask me why the hell I have such strong feelings towards my babysitter giving me blowjobs. First of all, I was 9 and she on multiple occasions threatened to take my life. Second of all, I left a lot of the other details out of my post because those memories are just too painful and I didn't think it was relevant for the purpose of my original post. I'm going to mention them here since I've nothing left to lose at this point. She would shove things up my ass like cucumbers, pens, etc. She would regularly hit me in the balls to punish me for disobeying her. She would dress me up as a girl and would force me to dance for her and pose in suggestive positions. There were times where I couldn't walk properly because of the things she did to me, and I got ruthlessly bullied in school as a result. How would you guys navigate my situation? Any advice would be appreciated.